a little back and forth, just like a little.
Yeah.
Like we'll just start rapping about the weekend or whatever.
Are you gonna start rapping?
Rapping?
Please do not start rapping.
I'll rap right now. I mean, don't. I mean,
I will put an entire bleep.
Hip hop. You don't stop. To jump up to the boogie.
First of all, listen. If you're gonna rap, you don't want a 7-minute rap song. Good luck with that, because that full song is long. And there's only one awesome line in that entire thing, right?
Yeah, the jump to the boogie that be.
No, I forget what the line is now. He's talking.
Oh, that's terrible.
Super sperm, when he's talking about like he's gonna hit him up with his super sperm.
You know who I like? So I told you I've been watching some, watching YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been watching a lot of has been like old like interviews, and one of them was Third Base. Remember Third Base?
No.
Pop goes the weasel.
Oh yeah.
Search and I've been listening to a lot of stuff about like old beefs, like
yeah. Do you find like the old like the beefs like movies? You found those? Those are pretty good.
Yeah, man. Not even those. Just like them talking about it. Like I didn't like MC Hammer had like a $50,000 hit out on MC Search or something like that.
Yeah, no, there's like shit was crazy, man. Like those beef like videos, like the DVDs and tapes, whatever that came out. Like I forget what the first one was, but I think there was one about 50. There's the one with like Nas. And
what was an interesting one was Ice Cube versus Cypress Hill.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were going back and forth, and then actually Cypress Hill had a huge beef with Ice Cube. Ice Cube.
That's what I just said.
No, you said Ice-T.
I meant Ice Cube.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. Ice Cube, Ice-T.
They're not all alike, Shawn, you racist bastard.
Ices aren't all alike?
No, yeah, it was with Ice Cube and West Side.
Yeah, they were friends. They were cool.
Yeah. And
then like Cube stole this like hook and put it in Friday, in a song from Friday, and then it kept going on from there, and then they had some diss tracks, but they squashed it. But it's just like, man, it's like all this stuff that like you don't even know happens.
Yeah. Listen, Cypress Hill does a dope show. They do a dope show.
Real. With a lot of dope.
No, listen. Oh yeah, for sure. But no, this is how deep it gets. Because I got to hang out stage side. It was the Dirty Heads, Cypress Hill, and there was another band. I forget who it was. But, man, it was an awesome show.
Pepper.
Was it Pepper? No, it wasn't Pepper. Because this was it was out west in Boca.
Yeah, it was Pepper.
I might have missed it then. I might have missed Pepper.
I went to the concert. It was Pepper, Cypress Hill, Sublime with Rome, and Dirty Heads.
Yes. Yeah. That was the one. Man, so I was hanging out backstage at that show. I was hanging out with everybody. They knew exactly what was happening at that show, because when I tell you, okay, so think of the width of the stage, like the backdrop of the stage, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's 2 side entrances.
Yeah, for those that don't know, it's an amphitheater. Amphitheater.
So that same wall that you see from end to end was covered in pastries. When I'm telling you, like, yeah, cakes, like, I mean, there was like 10 cakes, like miles of donuts, just pastries, just one after the other. Like, listen, if this is not a stoner show, I do not know what is. But wall to wall, man, end to end, it was just table after table after table of pastries, and then like beer. So it was definitely a fun show to hang out backstage on. It was definitely worth it.
But those beef, I love fights, man. I love those fights between.
Yeah. Well, because you start getting deeper into like the whole story, and then you start realizing like the song lyrics, like why they said this. Like, listen, 50 Cent can sound kind of corny now, but when he started and he had like the Ja Rule beef, he demolished Ja Rule. He destroyed Ja Rule
career. Disappeared.
Yeah. And then when he came back, he destroyed himself with the whole Firefest.
Fire Island.
Yeah. So stupid.
Not Fire Island.
Firefest. The Fire Festival. Yeah. That he's an idiot, and he still doesn't want to take responsibility for that. This is how bad 50 trolled Ja Rule. He bought out like the
front row.
Yeah, the first 10 rows. He bought the first 10 rows of tickets just so Ja Rule would come out and there would be nobody in front of him.
That's because he's got that FU money.
Well, he went broke for a little while too, but he made money once he had that vitamin water deal. I think he made like a good like 20 million or something crazy like that with the vitamin water deal. So he was smart enough to do that. But 50, and the second best troll he did. Do you remember the troll when he trolled Mayweather?
No.
I can't even say it with a straight face. I want to say he said he would give like either $100,000 or $1 million to any charity he chose if Floyd Mayweather could read a page from Harry Potter.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I remember that whole thing when Floyd was reading a kid's book.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't even read it. He admitted that he never read any of his contracts. So like, what do you mean you never read any of your contracts? So, yeah, I can't read. But if you just look up that video of just I forget if it was Snapchat, but it must have been Instagram, whatever. An Instagram video of a 50 calling out Floyd and just doing the whole challenge. Like, I'll pay you $1 million if you could read a page from Harry Potter, motherfucker. It was so good, man.
You know what it is? Here's the thing. Here's what we should take away from that. Education isn't necessary if you got talent.
Listen, there's different ways to get to the top. And like Floyd might screw himself over in the long run, but so far he's doing a great job and he's making a ton of money, man. So we'll see. Now everybody wants that Conor type fight with him. So who knows?
Of course. Be stupid not to. Make $100 million in a night? Okay. I'll fight anybody for $100 million. I'll fight Carol Baskin and a tiger for $100 million at the same time.
I'll fight Carol Baskin's riding a tiger. Let's go.
Let's go. $100 million.
You know, I still haven't watched that. I haven't watched that whole thing.
Yeah, in retrospect, I wish I didn't, but
it's so bad. Like everyone was so quick to point out, like, oh, free the Tiger King. Free the Tiger King, and then it's like,
no, F that dude. He's a
super racist, man. Like, have you seen?
Well, he's just an overall piece of shit.
Yeah, like
you heard me.
You
know me. I don't really like to cuss a lot, but that guy is a true piece of shit.
For sure. Listen, I'll cuss for you. I cuss all the time. You've been training?
I've been training. Well, no, I haven't. My piriformis injury is fired up from inactivity. So they opened up my pool. So I've had 2 solid weeks of in there. I think another week or 2, but I've been doing that and riding my bike. So I've been like living, I'm a biathlete, living the biathlete life, you know?
Well, regardless of what athlete life you choose, I support you.
Thank you.
Have you tried that Cyblock or whatever it's called?
I know, but you know what I just bought? And we'll find out how it is. I bought it from I hate to buy it from somebody that's one of our sponsors, competitors. But Armbar Soap Company just put out a new like CBD formula called Spider Guard Serum. Mm-hmm. So I bought that to see how it's supposedly got some,
Get it from Jiu-Jitsu soap. They have one that I use.
I didn't know they had one.
Yeah. No, I actually, my grandma took all of my CBD like tubs that I have because it was really, really good. I actually remember my grandma had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, so I had her to start taking CBD stuff, and then like I gave her some of the lotion, and like man, within like she had it for about a year, close to a year. She was starting like chemo, and then like they canceled after like the second or third one because it was about to kill her. She started taking it. She started putting that on. Dude, within months, clear, nothing.
Awesome.
I'm all about CBD. But no, try that Cyblock. Like, I don't know if it'll be something that works for you, but I mean.
I need it. It's just what it is from the inactivity.
Yeah.
And then like I actually tried training a couple times. And then, the way that my hips go, it really stretches it out. And when it's stretched out is when it's at its worst.
when it's funny, like that first training session that I had at Temple, I didn't tell you.
You mean that socially distanced,
whatever,
mask wearing?
Yeah. Well,
session.
It had been so long since I had done like that, like intense of like a training session, other than whatever lifting the logs and stuff here. I got high. I legitimately got high, dude. I was sat there like after like we're sitting there training with who was it training with like Nils. I sat there, I was like, I don't remember taking drugs. I'm really high right now. Like it took me a while. That's why I was like being like super slow. But like all the endorphins kicked out so hard that I legitimately had that high. I was like, so when I left afterwards and like I took out the outdoor shower, oh my God, I was like, this feels amazing. It was the best. I was like, this is the longest outdoor shower I've taken. Like someone's getting a free show next door for sure.
So you were like on Molly.
Oh man, I was so out there for like, it took like a good hour for me to finally like chill out and be like, okay, I'm back to, but it was a blast. I'm so glad that we're getting to go back to train. And actually, I want to give a shout out to a lot of my teammates. A lot of my teammates got promoted. Gabe got his brown belt.
Oh, Gabe got his brown belt. I saw that. Jason got his blue belt.
Yeah, man. Gabe's been like, you know, now he's been more consistent. Like he had to take like some time off a little bit because of school. He was still training on and off, but obviously he was finishing up school and getting his career and everything going. So like to see him consistent, and like, so I rolled with him at Monday, the first day back at Excel. So obviously like, man, I'm not trying to push my body. I haven't been able to lift or do nothing. Right. So like second round, it's Gabe. He's like, you want to roll? I was like, yeah, man, I want to take it easy. He's like, I don't. So like we went pretty easy, like considering how we rolled before, like when we roll in competition training. But man, like that kid deserves his brown belt for sure.
And I've been training with Gabe since he was 16, and I've said the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing about him. Like I told everybody back then, I'm like, when he gets his man muscles,
yeah,
everybody's gonna be in trouble.
Well, it's not even that, man. Like I think technique wise, because of all
years, but
like all the years of wrestling. But I honestly, like if Gabe had the time to train properly and focus on everything and do everything that he needed to do, man, hands down, Gabe could be a IBJJF world champ for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
If he could focus, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. He had the technique. He just back then he didn't have the man muscle to back it up with when he's rolling with men.
Yeah.
Now, what is he, 24 now or something like that?
I think so, 24, 25.
Yeah.
Good for him, man. Shout out to him. Like Elias, a bunch of people, Kathy, a bunch of people got promoted over Excel. It sucks I had to miss it. I've just been super busy with work. I trained a little bit last week. Haven't been able to train this week. So it's good for them, man. More than happy to them. You know what I watched the other day, dude, that you got to watch? Is fucking hilarious. Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, I've seen it.
Watch Jojo Rabbit.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, dude, watch that movie.
Enjoyable.
It is pretty good, man. I was laughing my ass off. And again, they do a good job with the writing and making it like, you know,
the end sucked.
Yeah. Like they definitely do a good job at showing the whole story and everything, and kind of not really separating from the message that they're trying to do, but they do it a really, really comical way. With that being said, we got a special show for you guys. The person on today's podcast is a friend of mine. I've known her for a few years now. She is someone that I actually reach out to once in a while to try and get some advice or try and kind of just get some coaching, just because of the experience that she had. We worked together in Karate Combat. She was the chief marketing officer there. She is now the chief of marketing at FITE TV. I can't say enough great stuff about her. She's great. She's hilarious. I think if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to enjoy the little bit of a joke that we have and our enjoyment of the Star Wars culture. So check it out on YouTube if you can. With that being said, I'd like to introduce you all to Kim Hurwitz.
เช่นนี้บ้าง
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence, and nobody can hang with my stuff.
Get stealing, woo, wheeling, dealing, limousine right, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
All right, everybody, listen, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to you a good friend of mine. She's the Chief Marketing Officer for FITE TV, Kim Hurwitz. Kim, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Alexis.
I can see you're calling us from very far, far away.
Yes.
How's that working out for you?
A distant galaxy, but I hear it's very about the same on Earth.
It's definitely close to Florida temperatures.
It's indoors and talking on screens.
Oh, that's awesome. It's hilarious. This is the first thing as soon as it popped up. I didn't even need a second to realize what was going on. So for those of the people outside of the industry, can you kind of explain to them what your role is with FITE TV, and just even if you want to kind of describe FITE TV as you say it?
Sure. FITE is a global digital platform, like so many these days, that are streaming content across the globe. And we focus, or have been focusing, on combat sports in that realm. So boxing, martial arts, wrestling, bare knuckle, MMA, traditional martial arts. We have been expanding quite a bit recently. We've been entering the world of motorsports. We also have dabbled in football, and
you even have jousting. Yeah, I saw you guys. Yeah, I saw you guys even have jousting on the platform.
Jousting, yes. You know, FITE, F-I-T-E, is really more about a competition, I guess. People trying to win or to achieve something or combat each other. So it certainly was born of a fighting spirit, and that continues to be probably the heart and soul of the company. But you know, we're kind of broadening it to include other types of sport and entertainment.
That's awesome. And actually, for a little background, Shawn, so you know too, Kim and I worked together with the karate combat events. So we did a couple of the karate combat events, which I always thought were great. So when you told me that you were FITE TV, I was super stoked, because I know at least it's someone with a background, and you didn't just come in out of nowhere into the whole fight world. You're actually tell me if I'm wrong, because I just found this out. You're actually a first-degree black belt in karate, in Shotokan karate.
Shotokan karate, yeah.
That's so awesome.
I mean, as of recently, we haven't been able to go to the dojo recently. My kids are also black belts, and I got into it because really they did. Well, that, and I've always been a fan. And I figure if I'm always going to sit on the sidelines, I might as, I'm watching all this kata and all the sparring. I got to be able to do that myself, watching is part of it. And it actually probably was faster. I've been doing that about 11 years now, though. And my daughter and I were actively training for our Nidan belt that we were hoping to test for, which is the second degree this summer. We got a little waylaid, but we'll get there.
More time to practice.
Exactly, which I wish we did more of, truthfully. We do kata every once in a while in the backyard. My son is home from college. He's a second degree also. Nice. And so sometimes we'll go through and let's do konkadai. Come on, let's go in the backyard. And, every once in a while people will hear this huge os, and I'm sure the neighbor's going, what the?
You know what, though? That's it's important to, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to be involved in combat, I've always had this whole problem with people involved, especially sports writers that have never, ever played the sport that they're covering. Or you see these sports writers that cover MMA, and, they're sitting in the crowd at the UFC post fight conference. And these people have never been anywhere near a cage, let alone, gotten punched in the face or kicked in the leg or any of that thing. So I've always had a little bit of a problem with that. So I really love the fact that you at least have, not only did you dip your toes into it, but you've immersed yourself in it. And I think it gives credibility to the brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives you a real appreciation, when you're on the receiving end of an uppercut or whatever it might be. And it's funny how the people who don't do it often are the most critical. And it's maybe because they just don't have the perspective. And I think that there are some people can rise above it that have never been involved in any kind of combat, that can be a great, someone who can break down the sport and whatever. But, it just seems like most people that excel in broadcasting and commentating and even journalism, you kind of have to have some, experience with it,
Right.
to be really, mindful and thoughtful.
So when you read those really critical reviews post an event that you guys hosted, or even like ones that you did with like Karate Combat, do you get a little extra soothing like anger where it's like, let me give somebody a call real quick?
My late father, I lost him last year. He was a journalist for the LA Times for most of his career and wrote, books and whatever. So I like journalism a lot and media, and I have a healthy respect for that. And not only that, but prior to this, I was actually a musician. Talk about, looking for, slings and arrows. Everybody has an opinion. And prior to that, I was a theater arts major in college. So
you're getting the comments from everywhere.
Like one thing to another, where I can be open to vast criticism.
Seriously.
And you just get toughened up. You realize everyone has an opinion. And that's okay.
Well, so not everybody's opinions are okay.
Personally, for me or for the brand that I'm representing, if nothing else, maybe I can help. It's like, look, I've been beaten down a lot. Let me help you.
And it's one thing. You're right. Everybody should have an opinion, but it's one thing to use that opinion to attack, or to in a harmful way, or to try to actually help make something better. And there's too much toxicity, I think, from a lot of these people. They're just looking to get clicks and views and things of that nature. So they're really not showing any journalistic integrity as far as covering a lot of this stuff. They just want to get their 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, good thing that doesn't happen in politics.
So don't start that one. Don't start that one. So
we won't go there. But it's the same kind of thing. I think people have realized if you can get a rise out of someone, you've maybe got a story.
Well, it's kind of like
if it bleeds, it leads, right? So you're looking for
it's kind of almost like
for that controversy.
It's that backlash from living with there's no such thing as bad publicity. Like Shawn and I were actually having that. Right? Yeah, exactly. It's like that's the conversation Shawn and I were actually having last week about stuff. One thing I always wondered, especially after we did that LA show when we had Danny Trujillo and everybody was like showing up. I mean, that was like a who's who of like the local martial arts like legends like at that point in time. So when you set up everything, and then obviously you invite the journalists, the reporters, and things like that, I think that's like an issue that would just happen at the UFC. Like they had to deal with contracts and stuff like that. There was you remember what it was called, Shawn? It was a non-disparaging clause or something like that. Like, is that something normal that these organizations do?
Well, I think it depends. Speaking of with Karate Combat, I don't want to talk about anything proprietary, but sure. It's different maybe when you're starting out a league. If you can set it up a certain way, and I suppose you can ask people to do non-competes, obviously, but also, and keep things confidential, or I suppose you could throw in all sorts of clauses about ethics, You know, just like the movie studios do, and you know, on a film or whatever, you will have ethics clauses or things that you can say or not say. I think it all comes down to power, and you know, if the UFC is certainly one of the most powerful leagues out there. I would say WWE and some of the other leagues that have been around for a few decades probably have ironclad contracts of things you can say, can't say.
Right. Because it's funny, like you're right.
I think people, you know, it's their IP, right? So they want to protect it. So I'm sure they're, you know, most leagues and any kind of entity, whether it's film or any, you know, tech, you want to control the narrative if you can.
Well, it's funny because like that was actually the thing when leading up to that one, and I was telling Shawn, he's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, I have no clue. They won't tell me. Like they wouldn't tell me. Like I didn't find out what the venue was until maybe like an hour before I had to be there for like the sound check and the stage check and everything was still being constructed. It's like, man, I know I'm in LA now for sure. So
wait, before you,
go ahead.
I got a question I wanted to get with Kim. So I come just a little bit of a background for me. I did professional wrestling for when I was younger. I didn't fight jiu-jitsu till I was in my 30s, unfortunately. But if I would have, I never probably would have gotten into pro wrestling. But you know, you guys have pro wrestling and you have real combat sports on FITE TV. Is there a different way that you handle? Like, is there? I guess. Do you have to treat one differently from the other during your process of marketing or whatever, or is it just you guys just treat them all the same? They're all combat sports, even though wrestling.
We don't treat them all the same because the fans. There's a little difference between the fans. We did a state of the industry report last summer, and it has some really interesting data that we compiled over at the time 3.5 years of existence, and because we track every single thing that we do, just to be mindful and to learn from it. And you know, people who love pro wrestling, they have slightly behavioral differences in that. And maybe it's just the nature of the sport in that there's a storyline that follows through, almost like a really good reality TV series or something.
Soap opera. Opera.
Yeah, I mean, you get really invested in it, and they tend to be, pro wrestling fans tend to be, they'll buy things even if it's not live. Like after the event, they'll go back. They'll want to get the history. Well, how come there's this rivalry, and why is this happening? There's a real sense of wanting to see the whole through line, and they'll order events earlier. So some of them are like tactical differences, whereas people who like boxing, they kind of wait till the last minute to buy, and after it's live, they're a little less interested. They don't tend to go. I mean, maybe if you really become a big fan of a fighter who becomes huge, you might want to go back and see his older fights or something, but not in the same way that a wrestler will, a wrestling fan.
Right.
The crossover between MMA and pro wrestling starting to merge a little bit, because you're seeing a lot of crossover. You know, the Ronda Rouseys, the Brock Lesnars, the people that go back and forth. So, but we try to treat every vertical with the respect that it deserves. And, you know, I would say I know a lot more about MMA than I do pro wrestling. So I'm not necessarily the one who's writing a bunch of stuff about pro wrestling when it comes to lengthy narratives. But our social media guy, his forte is pro wrestling. I mean, that's kind of how we found him, is that he was one of our super fans. He was always writing us with like, hey, what if we did this? And remember back in 87 when someone was like, what? You know,
he's just giving like, you the marketing ideas.
Encyclopedic. We go, we got to hire this guy.
That's awesome.
And really everybody who works in here at the company has some sort of connection to fighting. They're either a fighter themselves or they're just a huge fan. Even the CEO of the company is a black belt in Shotokan karate, and he studies Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, he's, really, really into it.
Right.
And Mike Weber, who's our chief operating officer, he and I actually go back like 20 years when I was starting off in cable TV doing pay-per-view stuff back then. He was with WCW and then later on WWF, which became WWE and TNA wrestling. And so he has a deep wrestling background. So, and the guy who runs RFNs, Keith, he used to work at the UFC. And so we're all like, it's a kind of a small industry. I mean, we all kind of knew each other even before I started working here. So
That's awesome. So you guys were still expanding even through the whole lockdown and like the real peak of the pandemic, especially for California. You were still getting content up, and like you said, you added motocross to the channel. So you guys have more and more. How challenging has it been to really get stuff out there for you guys?
We've been so busy. I don't think I've worked as hard since I started with the company, which was almost a year ago now. And we were gonna have to expand into soccer as well, because we had rights to South American World Cup qualifiers that were going to begin right now, and now that's been pushed until maybe later in the year. But pro wrestling really has not slowed down that much. I mean, we carried WrestleMania for the first time in early April this year, and then AEW, we've been there kind of since the beginning, and the event that just happened last week with Mike Tyson, see again another boxing entering wrestling, was just tremendous. And we did a movie. It was a world premiere. It was not in the U.S. but everywhere outside the U.S. Called Cage Fighter, and basically that was because of the pandemic, because movie theaters are not allowed to open, at least not in any meaningful large way, for their U.S. release, and I think they kind of went and wait till see what happens later in the year for their movie release. But they thought, well, it is an action film about MMA and wrestling, so maybe we'll have FITE premiere it. And so we had a big, one night only kind of movie premiere. So we're just trying to be agile, and what can we do? We do have Oriental Wrestling Entertainment, OWE, which is a mixture of wrestling and kung fu, live from Cambodia 3 times a week.
Awesome.
We do have some different events that are coming through, and the motocross just comes because, our chief operating officer spent a lot of time in motorsports, and people got to talking to him saying, hey, we really want to do, some crazy motorcycle racing.
That's awesome.
Sean, were
you asking something?
Yeah, well, it's as far as like, I would assume that business has probably gone up during the lockdown. I mean, seeing that there's been a lot of people not having a lot to do, they're probably looking for some kind of entertainment, looking for some kind of escape from their own homes. So am I correct in my assumption? Has business kind of like picked up since the lockdown started?
I mean, some of it. I think people tend to watch, Tiger King and a lot of TV shows, binge watching and stuff like that. I'm no different. I'm watching probably more TV than ever. And I think people miss sports. We don't have a lot of it, but, what we do, I think we've been maximizing its potential. We also carry a lot of free programming on FITE. A lot of shows, actually not dissimilar to what we're doing right now. Video podcasts. I mean, you heard the news about Joe Rogan, right? Going to Spotify, 100 million, which bargain, I think.
Right. For sure.
And I think that people are really excited about video podcasts and new shows very much like this. And because it can be live, and it can be very relevant, and it can cover a passionate niche that people are, into, whatever it may be. And we carry a lot of shows like this, and I think viewership has been very solid for these types of shows too.
Was and you don't have to give me obviously the specifics just because of NDAs and such, but I'm curious as to how well the WrestleMania did. I mean, I know like the history the last couple of years of WWE having issues with like their subscription, stuff like that. And then you guys ran WWE at a time when nobody could even sit there and go outside. So I'm kind of curious from your experience, did you see just kind of numbers that either blew you away or didn't surprise you at all?
I think just to be, I don't want to say anything
Right.
about their buy rates or whatever, but I think they were very happy. Certainly, things that they did talk about publicly was they were amazed at the social impressions they got, and we were too. I was amazed how many press pickups we had as one of the carriers, along with Fox pay-per-view and of course the WWE Network and all traditional pay-per-view stuff. It was definitely, I think, people are looking for some sort of events. That was one of the last few big ones, although the AEW from last weekend, was a tremendous event as well. So I think beginning next month, I think you're going to slowly seeing more and more things come back. I mean, you saw UFC had several events this month. They were able to kind of pull it off. Everyone's doing it in Florida until Fight Island is ready, I guess. But I think that you're going to see more and more states open up and sanction events. And, NASCAR has been coming back a little bit, and baseball's trying to figure out a way. And, you have to think that the NFL is working on a solution.
Oh, for sure. It's funny you mentioned that. I read an article last night that the Hard Rock Stadium, like the Dolphin Stadium, they're looking to convert it into a giant drive-in movie theater. So they could get 250 cars to come onto the field, and they would just play a movie on top of broadcasting on the TV.
Yeah, because some musicians, I guess, who was it, Keith Urban, had something where people were in their cars and they were watching a concert at a drive-in movie theater. And I mean, a lot of people who are younger maybe don't remember drive-in movies, so they haven't been around for a while. But some of them still exist in certain parts of the country.
Hey, they have drive-in churches, so I'm not surprised at all.
So I do commentary for an MMA company, a local MMA company here, and we were on FITE TV, and then we got courted away. Well, I didn't.
Don't be throwing people under the bus, bro.
Don't
throw people under the bus.
They got courted away, and my question is do you find is there a lot of competition to get new shows, new exclusive content from certain companies? Like, is there a lot of behind the scenes battles going on between some of you, like with you and some of the other online streaming companies, or is everybody kind of cool and just like, whatever?
It's a mixture, and I think it changes from year to year. We've worked with almost everyone in the business. In fact, FITE streamed some UFC events before their exclusive ESPN deal. And, we've done all the major wrestling out there. And sometimes because we are a global company, we won't get domestic rights. Like AEW is carried by Turner here in the States. But we carry all the AEW events outside of the US. And sometimes we'll go and we did do you remember the Logan Paul KSI 2 fight?
Yeah.
So the YouTubers battling each other. That was a huge event for us. And we didn't have any of the major countries. And we didn't even have the UK, which usually we have. That's one of our best markets. And we didn't have that for that. And Sky got that. And Matchroom Boxing did the deal with us and DAZN. DAZN had their 9 countries, and Sky had the UK, and we had everybody else. And we sold that into 160 different countries. Wow. I mean, it was just a huge event when you see like, oh, there is a buy from the Islands. Oh, where is that?
Yeah.
That whole event, speaking of that whole event, that event did better than a lot of professional boxing matches that are like, high level fighters.
Yeah.
It's like what's more important nowadays? Is it better to have just a social presence, or do you really need to be a good fighter? Because apparently Logan Paul, I don't really know anything about
Liar.
the two of them. I really do, but it's like, but I did, you saw that everywhere when it happened. And I'm like,
something, yeah. I mean, it's the level of celebrity that's just beyond the pale. Both KSI and Logan Paul have 20 million YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
So when you put them both in there, that's how we sold into 160 countries. Also, it was $9.99. It was a nice price point. But yeah, it's just that level of celebrity that really makes a difference. And that's why you see Mike Tyson everywhere.
Yeah.
Because he's just, anything that he's kind of involved with, even on the periphery, it just helps, it's like The Rock or like anyone who's super, super popular. You put them there and like eyeballs follow.
So do you have some inside information on the Mike Tyson fight? Because bare knuckle, throw me something.
Yeah, I hear the same rumors you do because we carry bare knuckle boxing. We have since the beginning. So it's always interesting to see what they're doing and you hear about, is he going to be fighting someone in bare knuckle? Is he going to be fighting Evander Holyfield? Is Wanderlei Silva? It's
you're not making eye contact with me. I think I'm sensing something there. No, that's cool though. But I mean,
if I knew, I'd tell you. If I was allowed to tell you, no, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you kind of know what I know.
What would you think would be the best play, just from your experience as from a marketing point of view? Like, what would you think is the best?
That's obvious. It's got to be Tyson versus Logan Paul.
Yeah. Oh, can we make that happen? Can we make that happen? I'll GoFundMe on that one for sure.
Well, I'm sure Logan Paul will probably fight again at some point. KSI has been talking about he wants to fight. So, yeah, I think you'll see more of those celebrity-type fights. And do I think Tyson's actually going to fight? I mean, have you seen bare-knuckle boxing? It's pretty brutal. I mean, Tyson looks really good for 53. I don't know how old he is now, but I don't know. That's it. That's a brutal thing. I'd almost rather see him fight someone in his same age range, like Holyfield or something like that. But I don't know.
If you were his manager, what would you recommend?
Do something that I'd probably go into pro wrestling. You probably make more money.
That's true.
Get less hurt.
That's true.
I mean, even, Tyson Fury wants to go.
Yeah, I saw that. I read that this morning.
Pro wrestling. Even he's going, okay.
Man.
It might be an easier camp.
Why get punched in the face for real when you could get paid more money for not getting punched in the face? It's just a smart business decision.
Exactly.
Man, who would you put him up against, Shawn?
Who, Tyson?
Yeah, for a wrestling match. Who would have the best sell? The Undertaker?
No, it would have to be like, honestly, with the history, I think what you do is you have Shawn Michaels kind of come out of retirement, and because they had a little bit of beef back in the day,
right?
Like with him, because he's the one that counted Shawn Michaels out with Stone Cold when
right.
So and then he knocked him out. He punched him in the face, and that's who I would. That would be to me a good storyline.
That's not a bad play. It's a good play.
Yeah.
So
you might have just given away a
I know, right?
$1 billion idea there.
If Vince McMahon hears this and goes with it, I want a piece.
He won't even give you like free viewing for the pay-per-view. He's not even going to give you that promo code. So with the events and stuff that are coming in, like, let's say you guys want to put together an event. You're not just covering, you're putting together the event with them. What kind of limitations are you having to deal with as far as like in the marketing and actually setting an event up? I mean, obviously we don't know all the inside stuff that's going on with the UFC. I mean, we get an idea, but how do you think this is going to affect like how you put on events in the future?
Well, I think that promoters will just go take it on a state-by-state basis, which is kind of what they did pre-pandemic. I mean, using Karate Combat as an example, we had to, if we wanted to do an event in California, we had to be sanctioned in California. So that hasn't changed. So now in the pandemic, I mean, if you want to do an event, say in Kansas, and they have certain rules, and you follow those rules. And if you get a better deal from Tennessee, which says, oh, you can have more people in the audience because we have different social distancing rules for this state. I mean, maybe that's what you do if you need to make money from your gate. I mean, I think a lot of sports leagues are somewhat dependent on those gate fees,
Absolutely.
Especially the smaller promotions. So you had asked earlier if there was a competition between different leagues, or people were fighting over different leagues. I don't think they were fighting over leagues necessarily, but there is a healthy competition out there between different leagues. And like we try to, if we're going to do an event, not go up against a big UFC event that
Right.
that
It's just
day,
scheduling.
or we also did a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu event a while back with BJJ Fanatics.
Yeah.
That was great.
Is that the Pat Downey? And,
Yeah, and it was great working with them. I think that was something that you can do in a controlled space. It's 2 guys on a mat at a time. It doesn't necessarily need to have a big audience. That's a great type of event to put forth, especially in these times. So I lost my way.
No, you're good.
Your original question there, but.
Kim, with that, so we are Jiu-Jitsu Radio. So we are we are mostly focused on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And was that a successful event for you guys?
Yes.
BJJ
Yeah,
Fanatics?
we were very pleased with it. I really liked working with the gentleman that put it on. I really liked working with Gordon and Pat. They really helped promote it, which was, again, that's key. That's why we've been doing well with some of these motorsports events and the AEW folks, and it's because everyone, these guys and girls get along. They get it. They realize they have to promote it. It's not just like, all right, here, sign my deal, and okay, go market it, make money for me. No, people need to get involved, and if they have a level of celebrity or passionate followers, that really makes a difference.
Now, have you thought about getting into more jiu-jitsu centric shows?
Yeah, we're completely open to that. It's really just a matter of kind of what comes our way, and the different connections that we have to reach out and try something different. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we've done some stuff with music in the past. It was a 4-day music festival from Oregon called Pickathon, which was the 20th year in its existence, and it was probably 90 different bands over 4 days, and we carried it as a pay-per-view event. So I mean, we're open to do anything that people want to see on the platform. Specifically back to your question about BJJ, yeah, we'd love to do more stuff in that space, and we're open to working with promoters,
Do you
helping
think
out with production if need be.
Do you think that there's a specific maybe lack of knowledge on putting together these types of events and making those types of deals, like the broadcasting deal with FITE TV and stuff like that? Is there maybe a lack of knowledge in jiu-jitsu as a whole from your point of view?
A lack of knowledge from whose perspective?
From the actual event creator. So let's say like someone wanted to do a jiu-jitsu tournament in Oklahoma or something, but I feel that there's a lack of marketing knowledge. So people would probably come up to you, like you said before, where it's like, okay, I'll sign the deal. Now you guys go do whatever. I'm just going to go put the event together. Like they have no idea on the marketing aspect of it. Like you're talking about 8 weeks out, 12 weeks out, depending on like how you're setting up your whole marketing scheme. And I feel that obviously boxing understands it. MMA is finally getting it, but jiu-jitsu is still one of those things that's difficult to sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's still new, and, we do a lot of stuff with our affiliate program. That's been one of the most successful marketing angles that we have, because that specifically allows the people involved in the event to get hands-on. They can sign up as a FITE affiliate. It's open to anyone. It's powered by CJ, which is kind of the market leader in that space, and it's free to join, and you can use it as much or as little as you want to. And basically any kind of communication, whether it's social media or a blog or a website, app, email, you can promote this, and any links, any sales that are made through those links on FITE will pay you commission. So it's a way for actually the fighters themselves to get more involved if they want, or the journalists, or the influencers. I mean, whoever wants to get involved, brand sponsors, anyone can do it. That's not the only marketing program we have, but we found that was we launched it last November, and actually last month was our biggest month ever as far as sales and impressions generated through this affiliate program. And because it's really what it says it is, it's affiliates. It's like affiliations, people that like are really, really passionate about something and knowledgeable about something will promote it. So it's kind of like a very structured word of mouth program, if you will. And again, that's, I think, what sells a lot of things is, mixture of media, influencers, word of mouth, passionate audiences.
So I'm just curious, like, what's the process on the deal? Like, let's say Shawn and I put together a big jiu-jitsu tournament and we want to broadcast it through FITE TV. What do you guys do as far as like a checklist, or whether it's not, it's an event that you'd be willing to take on?
I mean, it's a good question. It varies somewhat. I mean, we're a small enough company where if anything comes through, all the executive team will kind of look at it and weigh in and like, what do you think? Even if we can't make a lot of money on it, if we feel like, will it cover our costs and it will be something we can build on or grow from, or is there some enhancement? Will the audience, our users like it, and make them more apt to continue to come back to the platform. And it's just, if there's enough viability there, obviously most people come to us with their production all ready to go. But if they don't, and they have something else they can bring to the table, they either have talent that they can provide or some sort of media angle or funding, or it could be any one of them. It doesn't have to be all those things. But if it has a couple of things that we can work with, we'll look at, we get pitched all the time from people, blind pitches. And, we don't necessarily work with all of them, but we work with a lot of smaller companies that grow over time. Yeah. So,
Shawn, do you have a question? Sorry.
No. I'm just listening.
So the motocross thing, like, what was like the initial reaction once you threw that on there? Were you kind of like surprised as to like how much of a response you got by adding it?
Well, again, the Moto Fight Club, which is what we called it, the first one, was super popular. And I think a lot of that goes to the fact that we had just some of the best riders out there. Mm-hmm. You have Travis Pastrana, who's got 2.5 million Instagram followers or whatever. I mean, and really everyone that was involved, it was really kind of 10 of the best guys. And again, we had a background, and we had a couple of other people who were heavily involved in motorsports that they were all chomping at the bit to do some kind of race. We had a whole charity aspect of it as well. And a lot of the riders donated, jackets and helmets and stuff like that. And they raised, I think, over $50,000 on charity just from some of the materials that they wore in the event to help people from the motorsports industry that have been affected by the pandemic. And we were very happy. And what I found really interesting was that most of these people were brand new to the platform. I mean, motorsports fans are not necessarily wrestling fans.
Yeah.
But, they said, hey, it's on FITE, so it's like, it's a platform. And it was great because there were all sorts of brand new followers to our social profiles. And now we have another one coming up, flat track racing, that's coming up in a few weeks.
That's cool.
And we'll continue to do more.
So when you track everything, can you see how many people like spill over, like if they came in specifically for one and then they ended up jumping into all the other channels?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We track everything and everywhere they go because we want to be really mindful when we send them emails and stuff like that to make sure it's something that they're going to find interesting.
Yeah, hold on.
Not spam people.
Yeah, before you go on, like, I don't want to freak everybody out. Like, this is like pretty standard practice all throughout like marketing, especially people that know what they're doing, obviously, when it comes to marketing. Anytime you click or move, it gets tracked. So it's not like Kim's not spying on you. It's nothing that like it's anything that crazy. It's not like big brother, big sister is watching, but it's one of those things. That's how marketing companies get their research. So without having to send out.
Right. And we don't really know a whole lot about demographically about them. We kind of know what country, because we have to, because we get rights for certain regions. So we have to be able to geo-block and protect the IP. If we're not allowed to broadcast it here, then we can't send people there or sell it there. Right. We don't ask for a whole lot of information really when you register. Yeah. You get emails. I mean, it's pretty minimal, and we do a lot of live chat, and that's very, anonymous as well. You can make up your own little name when you do live chat and stuff like that. It's really just behavioral. So we know that if, this person tends to buy this, then we will send them messages so they won't go, how come I keep getting boxing? I'm not a boxing fan. I'm a wrestling fan or whatever. I mean, obviously it's not perfect, but so it's really just behavioral. We want to serve you stuff that we think that you will like, or something that's free that, hey, you might want to do this because it's free or whatever.
Is there a country that's most specifically difficult to get the distribution rights or the broadcasting rights?
China. That's easy.
Yeah, China's kind of tough. I would say that the most competitive one is the U.S. Yeah. Because the rights are most valuable for most sports in the U.S. People are used to paying, especially for pay-per-view. People are used to pay-per-view in the U.S. It's just been around for a really long time, and people realize, all right, I got to open up my wallet for this one. It's extra. Whereas in a lot of other countries, they're starting to get used to pay-per-view, but it's not quite as common. And, buy rates are very indicative with the GDP. So we do price things differently in different countries because we want to be mindful of that. India is a great market, but we have to price things a little more appropriately so it's affordable and that people won't go, well, I'm not going to pay that. That's not worth. You want to give them a good value no matter where you are. So, as you can imagine, there are certain economies that are just, they can support certain price points. So we try and be really mindful of that.
Here's a question: since motorsports did well, what would you guys be open? I guess I'm sure you'd be open, but because I think a lot of the action sports, like skateboarding, would kind of like a skateboarding contest would kind of fit into the demographic. I would think they're very aggressive. They're very action packed. Mm-hmm. And I think there would be a lot of crossover, I think, with a lot of the motorsports fans as well. I mean, and there's just as far as jiu-jitsu is concerned, there's a lot of skateboarders and surfers that do jiu-jitsu. So like you guys have an open platform there. I almost wonder if that wouldn't be a bad idea either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a nice fit. I mean, our key profile is the male 18 to 35, and then obviously it goes a little bit younger and older than that, and I'd say just over 10% of the viewers are female, maybe 13%. So there's room for growth there too.
Right.
So, but yeah, back to the whole, similar type sports and stuff like that. I agree. There's a culture with skateboarding and in motorsports. I mean, there's a lot of these niches are very large niches, and
Listen,
probably something that would do well.
If you start throwing in Formula 1 too, just sign me up. Shawn and I can be commentators for like 5 different sports. We're solid. We're good.
Well, yeah, we'd be very interested in Formula 1.
Oh, that'd be so great. I think a lot of people are. It's funny because they switched to the e-racing. So that's the thing. So at least that's cool. Like you get to do that. Did you hear, Shawn, about well, I doubt you heard it.
I did hear about the guy that hired a gamer to
Did you hear?
Race.
So there's like the Formula E, which is like the electric car racing. So they switched over to online like game like racing as well. And the one guy hired a professional gamer to race for it. It's like, man, you got to be pretty lazy if you don't even want to race from home. Like,
well, he said he didn't take it serious.
Yeah.
He thought it was just all a joke, which I could see that. I mean, if you're a real Formula 1 racer and they go, hey, why don't you race the video game?
They've been doing it. They're loving it because if you jump on, you can hear them trash talking and you hear them going back and forth. And a lot of them are pretty close anyway. Obviously, it's only a handful of Formula 1 drivers. So it's kind of like fun to see. But I mean, man, it'd be kind of cool to have just MMA fighters just like
mic'd
trash
up.
Talking, mic'd up and playing them against.
Well, that's the cool thing about not having audiences at these events.
Oh, I loved it.
It's been great. Like not for a lot of people, but for true fight fans and martial artists, being able to hear the corners and the commentary and the fighters. I think it's been an awesome part of. I mean, not that there's much awesomeness to a lockdown, but that's been a silver lining as far as being a fight fan.
Well, even the fighters heard the commentator.
Yeah, exactly.
And changed their strategy because of it.
He just heard you say that, DC. Yeah.
So what did you think about that, Kim, though? Like seeing like everything that the UFC was going through and stuff from someone in your position within the company, when you see someone like the UFC do something like that, what kind of goes through your head when you see everything?
Well, I mean, I feel for what they're going through because I understand the challenges. And, I just hope that everyone stays healthy, obviously. And it was surprising to your point, what you could hear. To me, the fights, they felt more violent than ever. Because, oh my God, you could hear someone really hitting someone hard, but it, there's a beauty in that. I don't know. Ever since I saw, what was it? I guess it was Leonard Hagler was the first boxing match I ever saw. Prior to that, I didn't really know anything about boxing or wasn't really a fight fan. But when I saw that, many moons ago, I just thought there was something so beautiful about it. It was like art when you do something really, really well. And I know I'm getting off the topic of what you asked.
No, not at all. I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to find out, because obviously, again, you come from the unique position that you're someone that actually trains, so you understand what exactly is going on. But then from a businesswoman's point of view, from a marketing point of view, seeing that like, okay, these are the steps that people are going to have to take to put on events, and for like you guys to stream the events, to see the difficulties that everybody's going through. Because people don't realize it takes a crew. It takes a big crew. It's not just like, oh, just go ahead and plug it in and go, I mean,
Well, you know the old saying, it takes a village to raise an idiot.
I'm still waiting for my village. Yeah, it's just that. It's just I'm kind of curious from your point of view, like what you thought about it. I loved it. I know a lot of people didn't like that like there was no crowd, but to your point, yeah, the fact that you can hear it kind of adds a little bit, almost more of a superhuman, like you're watching a superhero movie when like they're punching each other and you see the recoil and stuff like that. I think if anything, it's probably going to help out the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting, and I think you'll see this evolve, just like everything evolves. And I think that if you'll maybe see more sound design or sound effects or music beds. Yeah. I mean, Karate Combat did that.
It was a little while ago. They've been on that.
We were ahead of the curve there.
For sure.
But there's something about having some ambient sound and maybe some added oomph. It's like watching a movie without a soundtrack. If you've ever seen something before the music bed's put in or whatever, the scene can be exciting or whatever, but now you put John Williams' score in there or whatever. Yeah. It's like all of a sudden, it gets emotional. It gets, there's something about it, and maybe because I love music so much that I like the absence of the crowd in some ways. You don't hear the whoo.
I can't stand that guy. All the time. There's always one guy that starts it off.
You know, I'll tell you what I think has been one of the best parts about the non-fan thing is I think companies have learned that even without a live gate, they can make money.
Yeah. I
think that's important. You know, that's important when we move forward with this is like, so wait a second, we could scale down production to almost a bare bones. You don't need a huge, you know, I just think it's something that like it kind of had that feeling, like if you remember Rio fights.
Yeah.
It is very similar to that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a realism to that.
But you also got to remember, I'm sure the UFC got a huge deal on using that arena, because that arena normally wouldn't be cheap. I'm sure they got it for a steal.
Well, yeah, because nobody was going to be – who else is going to be using it?
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I agree. Listen, I would actually like it. I prefer it. Like, even like basketball games, if you had nobody in the crowd so I can actually hear what's going on in the court, I love it. But again, that's coming from someone who's been in that world or who's in that world, and I understand like what's going on. So those intricacies bring things to a whole different level. Damn, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Speaking of the Karate Combat, I saw you guys also have Boss. Boss is doing his stuff on FITE TV. How's that working out for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I love Boss. He's such a great gentleman and just such an awesome fighter and just an awesome human being. Yeah. I mean, so I loved working with him at Karate Combat, and you know, he lives out here locally in LA, and I just, you know, we'd stayed in touch, and I said, you should do something with us, you know, during this downtime. You know, what are you going to do? Because his gym wasn't open either. And you know, it's like there's not a lot of commentary gigs and things going on because no one has really anything going on. And he said, you know, Kim, I'm doing this show. And I saw what he was putting out on Facebook and YouTube. And I said, can we bring it to FITE as well? And he goes, yeah, sure. Why not? Let's figure out, you know, the technical stuff. So he was doing 5 days a week. And then also on Saturdays, he does a Q&A live. Yeah. And now it's down to, I think, 3 days a week or whatever, because things are starting to open up a little bit here in California. So I think he's hoping that the gym's going to open up soon. So it may, you know, it's not, we knew it was not going to be forever, but for now you can get your daily workouts, UFC Hall of Famer. It's pretty cool.
You can get your Boss fix.
Yeah. It's called Boss Rutan Inspired Bang Muay Thai. It's Monday and Wednesday live with Boss, which you can't, there's never a time that you don't want to go live with Boss.
I don't get starstruck very often. You have to be like a major star for me to go, holy crap. But Boss was one of those people when I saw him at, I think it was back when it was, was it Strike Force he was doing the commentary for?
Well, he was doing PFL
Yeah.
for a while.
I think it was.
Well, he was doing the MMA inside or
Right,
inside MMA.
right.
Yeah, but it was
Kenny
before.
Price,
Yeah, but it was.
MMA,
Yeah.
and he might have done Strike Force too. I don't know. He's
Yeah,
done
I can't remember
He
which
does a
one it
lot.
was, but it was one of those the companies that is no longer around.
Uh-huh.
But he was doing the commentary, and I just first time I've ever asked for a photo with a celebrity, and it was Boss, and he is one of the very few that I would do that with. He's such
Listen,
an incredible
I see him, like, we've sat there, we've hung out, like I see him once a year now, maybe once or twice a year whenever we do these events and stuff, and even I'm still like, oh my God, it's Boss Rude. Like, we'll joke around, like we talk like regular conversations, like I could sit there and email him if I want, but I'm like, oh my God, that's Boss Rude. That's crazy. He's such a good guy.
Yeah, he is such a good guy, and you don't always get that with these icons.
For
Some
sure.
people, some icons, like, I wish I'd never met this person in real life, but he is someone like amazing. He's fantastic, and we have a podcast that we air every week with Shawn too.
Yeah.
And if you recall, they were kind of the two commentators with.
What's up with Shawn? Like, I haven't seen him in a while. Like, I know he did, what was it called? He had that jiu-jitsu tournament he was commentating on with Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah, I mean, for a while there, he was doing tons of UFC Fight Pass stuff.
Yeah.
Roy Jones Jr., boxing stuff. He also does the left way. And he would do M1s. I don't know. There were a couple of things. And I know what you're talking about. There was a Brazilian, was it Fanatic? No, not Fanatics.
It's something with an F. Yeah, it was something like that.
Polaris? Was that what it-
Polaris is my buddies, Mike and them up in the UK. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forget what it's called.
I can't remember now either, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll come to me, but anyway, he was doing a bunch of stuff, and he still does bare knuckle fighting, but they're, hopefully they're coming back. They said sometime later in June, so we're excited about that because we'll carry them as well. But yeah, he's been a friend for a while too, and so he does a show called MMA Rewind, which just kind of goes back in time and talks about famous MMA fights from the past and then people who were there. So
once I learned his trick of having all that energy, I was like, man, this guy is a professional, because he has, before every show, at least every time I've seen him, before every show, he'd have a giant 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew, and he has it next to him throughout the whole show. So whenever there's a break, and he's just chugging Mountain Dew, I'm like, listen, man, at 18, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that now. So I don't know how he manages to live that way, but you might as well be on pure octane right there.
Yeah. He does, he's a grappler too. He loves his jiu-jitsu.
No, he knows his stuff. And that's why, like, I always enjoy when I see his commentary. That's why I just haven't seen him in a little while. Kim, I know you got to get going. I wanted just to sit there and say thanks again for doing this. I appreciate it. I hope we get to do some more work again in the future. If anybody wants to check out FITE TV, it's literally just FITE.tv. Check it out on all the social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. And then you can also find Kim on LinkedIn if you were interested in actually getting your tournaments or your events up on FITE TV. So go ahead and shoot them an email. Shawn, you have any last remaining?
Yes, I've been asking my guests this, and you kind of hinted to it.
Oh, his
already.
guest. It's just, you're only his guest. Don't mind it.
Yeah, right now you're my guest because I'm talking. Over the lockdown, what has been your top 3 shows or movies for the lockdown from either Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever?
Well, obviously I watch a lot of FITE TV. So, and I watch so much of this stuff, monitoring it, moderating chat, whatever, that's number one, but it's a mixture of stuff. But the other two things that I've been watching religiously have been, I finally binged all of Ozark.
Yeah.
I watched like 1 or 2 episodes and then I kind of put it on the shelf, and then there were just other things that came up. And I had to like finish it. And I'm so glad that I did, because it actually got better and better. And then what I'm watching right now is Bosch, which is on Amazon. So it's based on the Michael Connelly. I love true crimes.
Yeah.
And this is all about like the cop and homicide division and stuff like that in the city of LA.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just a true crime junkie kind
That's
of.
awesome.
And I just and also my father worked with the LA Times, and he was a big fan of Michael Connelly as well, and he used to work at the Times, so it's kind of like, it reminds me a bit of my dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of what I've been watching.
That's awesome. What'd you jump on this week, Shawn?
What did I watch interesting this week? I've been watching, you know what? I've been watching a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
For some reason I've been watching. So there was this show on the History Channel that I've been watching on YouTube called The Strongest Man in History.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a reality, not a reality show, but they take 4 of the world's best strongmen now, but it's the same 4. They don't cycle in and out. Mm-hmm. And they take them, to different parts of the world where there are strongman feats and like a history of a strongman. Mm-hmm. And then they have them redo their
challenge.
Yeah, they do it as a challenge, and it's really cool. And watching these guys lift these things, I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I don't lift heavy anymore.
the big tires and stuff. And
no, even worse. What they squatted like $15,000 in silver dollars, which is like 700 pounds. They do all these really weird things, because the strongmen of the past, just had these weird things that they were good at. One of the coolest things though they did was in I want to say it was in Ireland or Scotland, and there's this bridge and there's these things called the Dinny Stones. Mm-hmm. One weighs like 360 something. The other one weighs like 4. What's that?
Your mic just jumped up big time.
Oh. And then the other one's like 360 something. The other one's like 400 and something. And so it's off balance, and they got to see who could carry it the furthest. Yeah. The world record was like at 8 feet, and the one guy, Brian Shaw, who's one of the best strongmen in the world, carried it 11 feet. So it was like, it was cool to see stuff like that.
How much did it weigh?
There was 2 different stones, and you got to carry them at the same time and walk with them.
Right.
One weighed like over 400, the other one was under 400. So it's like really.
It throws you off. Yeah, that'll mess up your spine real quick.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed it.
No, all I did was binge Solar Opposites. So it's from the same creator from Rick and Morty. So they put it up on Hulu. It's funny. It's definitely not for the easily offended, that's for sure. But it's pretty funny. If you like the sci-fi stuff, they did a pretty good job. It's pretty funny, slapstick Rick and Morty type stuff. But then at the end gets very, very serious for a cartoon, where you're just kind of like, I'm way too drawn into this emotionally to be watching a cartoon. But it's funny. It's definitely worth to check out. Okay, Kim, sorry for taking up a little bit extra of your time. Thank you again for doing this. Please, everybody, check out FITE TV. Go to FITE.tv. If you want to try and get your event up there, go ahead and reach out to them. Thanks again for doing this, Kim. Hopefully we get to do this again sometime soon. I'd love to see how everything changes for you and how much busier you get after the pandemic.
All right. Thanks so much.
Take care.
It, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. There you have it. Thank you so much to Kim for doing this. Obviously, she's an extremely busy person. I've had so much fun every time I had a chance to work with her with the karate combat events, and hopefully we can do some more stuff. She is nonstop, man. That lady has tons and tons of energy and a ton of knowledge. So hopefully you guys at least got something out of it, because I think
We did.
We definitely did. But anybody that's interested in really seeing the next level of streaming as far as events and getting your fight organization or your jiu-jitsu tournament streaming, stuff like that, I think you get a little bit more of an understanding of what it takes. So those are the kind of people that you have to communicate with and understand where they're coming from. So you can't just come in and make a deal like, hey, I have a jiu-jitsu tournament. You need to stream it. It's going to make a lot of money. Like, if you don't have your marketing P's and Q's put together, you're not going to get it. Listen, as always, don't forget to check out our sponsors. Don't forget to hit up Chocoloha. Get yourself a discount, 20% off at chocoloha.com when you use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu Radio. Don't forget to check out our homies over at Jiu-Jitsu Silco. Shawn, I made a new bar, and I put you on the cover. It's called Gorilla's Garden.
That could totally be me. That's
I-
funny. I need to talk and see about getting my own.
Get your own bar, your own line. Hey, this one's got lemongrass, tea tree, rosemary, and sage. So definitely smells way better than you. Almost smells like a good pizza. Anyway, go get yours. Get yourself a discount. Use the promo code JJ Radio at checkout. They actually had a Memorial Day sale too on hats and stuff like that. So if you missed out, sucks to be you, but you can still get the promo code discount. So go for it. And last but not least, don't forget to check out our homies over at giraffechoke.com. Get yourself a head kick hat like I have here. Always good. And use the promo code JJ Radio at checkout. That's it. Don't forget to follow this guy. Evidently it's just your podcast. Like I don't even
know why you show up. I mean,
seriously,
it's a talent, and you're
clearly. I mean, if it was up to you, we'd have bookings every day. So either way, follow Shawn at Gorilla Boy BJJ. You can follow me at Sonder Marketing. Don't forget to check out jjradio.com. You can follow us on Instagram at jjradio. And with that being said, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
You kidding me, Bob?
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence, and nobody can hang with my stuff.
Get stealing, woo, wheeling, dealing, limousine right, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time